Hi, it's Jordan Teen 1, and in this video I'll be showing you how to make this new EXtreme Braid Bracelet. So here's what it looks like, and you can see that I used black and white for this one, and you can see how the colors weave in and out of one another, and then in the middle they cross and make this X pattern. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a little bit hollow. You can see my hand going through here in the center, and it has this X pattern. So I think it turns out really neat. And I'm going to be making this on the Rainbow Loom. So you want to have your pins set up so they are in line with one another. And we're going to be working with 8 pins in the shape of a rectangle. And then for my colors today, I have the Rainbow Loom brand black and red. So you can use more than 2 colors, but I'm just going to try and keep it a little bit more simple by using just the 2. So you're going to need about 240 bands, give or take, depending on the size of your wrist. So my first band placement is going to go on the 5th pin up on the right hand side of the loom, and it's going to go straight across to the left. And I am going to be using double bands for this entire bracelet, so I'm going to be using 2 bands at once. So I'm going to do red. This is going to be my center color. And then I'm going to be using black for my outside color, and this is what's going to go back and forth across the bracelet, and it's going to make the X's in the center. So they're going to go on this right pin here, on the same pin, and come diagonally down and to the left. And now on the right hand side here, I'm going to go to this next pin above, and I'm going to place 2 more red bands going straight across. And then finally I have 2 black that are going from the same upper pin on the right and coming diagonally up and to the left. So that's what it's going to look like to start. And now I want to put a cap band on, and it's going to go across these 2 pins on the right. So I'm just taking a band, I'm going to double it, so I'm twisting and putting it right back on, so I have the 2 loops, and I'm just going to stretch it across these 2 pins here on the right. And now I want all of these lower bands to come up through. So I'm going to start on this lower pin here. I'm going to reach inside of this cap band and get these 2 black bands. And they're going to come up through here. And you might want to use your finger to hold this cap band in place. And now these 2 black bands are coming down to this pin below. And now the 2 red ones, I'm going to go down through and pull them up as well. And for right now, I'm just going to move those back over to the left, just as a holding spot. And now I have to do this upper section. So again, I have the 2 black that are on top, so they're going to come up through, and they're just going to move above here. And now for these last 2 red, I'm going to slide these off of the pin, leave this on my hook, and now I can release this cap band. Just going to put these red right back on, and now I can take these other red here, just the top 2, and move them back over to the right. So now you can see this cap band is just in the center, and you do want to try and keep your rubber bands as straight and smooth as possible. So I can see this black one here got a little bit twisted, so I'm just going to take an extra couple seconds and try and straighten that out. And I would suggest doing that after every layer just to make sure that your bands look as smooth as possible. And so now I'm going to add a second layer, and I'm going to keep the colors the same. So these are just going straight across. So I have black at the bottom, and then I'll do red for the 2 center. And then at the top here I have the black. And then I want to remove that bottom layer from all 8 of the pins. So I'll just go around here starting on the right. And then the same thing on the other side. The ones in the middle are going to be a little bit loose, but that's okay. And you're going to push all of this down. And so now we're going to start the braiding process. And I'm only going to be braiding the right hand side here. So if you picture these two outer colors, whatever your colors are for your outside, they're going to be moving in, they're going to be crossing one another, and then they're going to be moving out. So that's what we're going to follow, and I'll show you a little bit more in detail here as we go. So I'm taking the ones from the bottom right here, and these two bands are just moving up. And now I want these bottom two red bands to come up through and come back down. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the outside here. So the black are coming down, and now the two red are going to come up through the black, and now they're going to move up. So they've just crossed one another here. And now since we moved all four of these bands on the right, we need to put on another layer. And so you can see the colors are not going to match here, but that's alright too. We're just going to be following the same pattern that's on the right hand side. So you want to match up the colors. So you can see we have red on the bottom, and then we have black. And now here you see we have black in the middle again, and then red at the top. And then once you've put on that straight layer, you want to remove the bottom layer. So two from each. So now we have these black bands in the middle, and we want to cross them, just the black. So I'm always going to do it from the bottom here. Just to be consistent, the bottom one's always going to move up. And then I'm reaching inside here, and these are coming down. So you can see that's what's going to make this X pattern. And now I need to add the next layer, and I'm only adding it to these two center because they're the only ones that crossed. So I'm just keeping them same color here with black. And then once we put on that straight layer, we have to remove the bottom. Make sure you're removing it from all four pins. And now since we've crossed these in the middle, now they need to move back to the outside. So I'll start here on the second pin up, and this black's going to come down. And then this bottom red's going to come up through and move above. Make sure both bands make it on there. And then this black is moving back to the outside, and then the red has to come up through and down. And now, once again, since all four of the bands have moved positions, we need to add the straight bands. So once again, we're following the same pattern that's on the right here as far as the colors. So black is going to go across the bottom, and then I have the reds in the middle. Whoops, one just jumped off. Let me get another one here. And then red again. And then at the top here is black. And then you'll just remove the bottom layer. And you always want to be pushing it down. It'll just make its way out through this open area. And so we've basically just completed one cycle where we did the black bands, then they moved in and then switched sides. And we're just going to keep repeating that over and over. So the next thing would be to get the black bands to again move inward. So starting at the bottom right, and then this bottom red's going to come up through and move down. And now from the top, this one's moving down. And the red's going to come up through. And move up. And now since all 4 bands move positions, we need to put that next layer on of straight bands. So I hope it's not too confusing. We're only placing these straight bands on the pins that bands have moved from, so that's why it's all 4 this time. And again, you're just following the colors on the right. Don't worry about the left. They're actually always going to be opposite colors. So it is a little bit more of a complex pattern, but I think if you can wrap your head around it, you'll get the hang of it and you won't be too confused. So now these black ones have come in and now we need them to cross. So again, I'm always starting from the bottom, the one closest to me. And now the other one comes up through and down. And now this time we're only laying those straight bands on the black, just the 2 center ones because they're the only ones that moved. And now finally we need these black bands to make their way back to the outside. So I'm going to start here at the one that's closer to the bottom, and that's going to come down. So as you can see, it's always the black bands that are moving first, and then the reds are always coming up through, or whatever color you had started with for your outside. Maybe you're not using black. And now the one at the top will come up, and this red will come up through and down. So now the blacks have made their way back to the outside. And then since all 4 moved, I need to get that straight across layer. And again, following the pattern on the right. So we have the black that's on the ends and the reds in the middle. And now I'm just going to take off this bottom layer. And push that down. So I'm just going to continue on in this same pattern. The next part would be to get the blacks to move in and then cross and then come back out. And every time we're putting on that horizontal layer, that straight across layer wherever the bands have moved. So you can pause the tutorial here and continue making your bracelet. If you feel like you're a little bit unsure of what to do, you can always go back in the tutorial and follow along with the instructions again. So I will just fast forward here, and when I have my bracelet long enough, I will show you how to remove it from the loom. When you have your bracelet to the length that you'd like and you're ready to remove it from the loom, what you're going to do is get all of the bands on one row of pins. So I'm just going to take the ones on the right and move them over to the left. Just make sure you're getting both loops on the pin. I'm going to push this down. And now I have one more black band I'm going to put over the bottom two here. And then I'm just going to slide these rubber bands on. And now I'm going to take this and move it to the next pin up. And now I'm going to slide the next 4 rubber bands on. Just take them 2 at a time. And then I'm going to stretch this even further to this next pin up and slide these last 4 bands on. And now I'm going to take this off. Just be very, very careful that you don't lose this off of your hook. And if you want, you can use your thumb to hold it in place. And then pick up the other end here. And now I can pull this whole piece out. And I'm just going to take a clip. I have an S-clip here. And I'm going to hook it through one side. And you can see the pattern here. This X pattern in the middle, and then these hollow places. And I'm just going to flip it over here. And you should have a nice circle on the end. That was the cap band. And then you can attach the other side. And then here you have your bracelet. And then here's the other one, the black and white one that I showed you at the beginning. So I think it turns out really cool. And it is a nice wide pattern. I know a lot of people ask me to make wide bracelets. I hope that everyone likes their new EXtreme Braid Bracelets as much as I do. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!